Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Corner Pod, wherein we talk about all things football. I'm Hari Keshav, and along with me is my trusted friend and co-founder of the channel, Amok. Hello, Amok. Great. Today we have with us two friends of the channel. We have Rahul, who's a United fan. Hey, Rahul.
Hi.
And also Krishnan, who is a die-hard
Hi.
Chelsea fan. Hey, Krishnan. Great. Welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for joining us, and really nice to have you on the pod. Let's start with a small round of introductions. Probably Rahul, you could start off, followed by Krishnan for our
Sure.
viewers.
Yep, absolutely. So, hi, I'm Rahul. Nice to be on this podcast. I've been following you guys for some time, and I can say that the quality of content has been going up day by day. So keep that up. Keep it up, guys. So I'm based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've been a United fan uh, from early 2000s. I think 2006, 07 was when I really got into supporting United. But yeah, I mean, haven't looked back since then. Even though off late it's been really painful to support United, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind doing that for as long as I have to. Yeah, that's a bit about me. Nice to be here.
Um,
Great. Thank you so much,
Hi,
Rahul.
I'm
Krishnan.
Krishnan. I'm based out of Bangalore. I'm a restaurateur. I own two restaurants in Bangalore. Been a Chelsea fan since 04, 05. Yeah, so I think I was in class 7 when I started, and I've been playing FPL since 2006 season. Back then, FPL was so different, and it's evolved so much now. We didn't have. I still remember we didn't have a budget back then. You could just randomly pick players. The only cap was you can't choose more than 3 players per team. There was no budget of 100 million. You could just throw in any players you want, and there was no your chips, and none of that existed back then. No triple captain, no free, none of it. The player performs, you get your points, and that's it. And then that's how the addiction started. And yeah, I'm really liking it now, and really great to be a part of this episode today.
Brilliant, Krishnan. Thank you so much. Thank you for making us feel young. In today's episode, we will preview the three games from the upcoming Premier League Gameweek 13, which we think has the most following. So we'll talk about Chelsea, Arsenal, and United, and also do a quick fire score prediction of each of these games. We will also do a separate episode on Man City and Pep Guardiola, and in that particular episode, we will preview the Liverpool game. So please stay tuned for that. Um, as for this episode, let's dive into the episode quickly and start the podcast with this week's game, that is Chelsea at home to Villa. So, in order to start the conversation, Chelsea won comfortably against Leicester, albeit there was this very shocking decision from the referee to not award NDD a red card, and I think Palmer was gravely injured there. Jackson in good goal scoring form, 7 goals in this Premier League, and combined with Villa, why I chose Jackson's stat there is because the same 7 for Villa in the last 7 games, they are winless in that. So 4 losses and 3 draws. So Chelsea fans confident of moving into this game, even though Villa can be a tricky match.
If you look at our performance against Leicester last week, we should have had more than the 2 goals that we scored, right? We left it really late to get our second goal. I wouldn't call it a bit of complacency, but I think the chances were not taken right. Yeah, and you can't afford to slip up against a team like Aston Villa. Even though their form has not been great, okay, winless in their last 7, but Emery has changed the way Villa play. He's brought about wonders with the way Villa play with a more attacking mindset. But again, defense has always been a concern with Aston Villa, right? They've had just one clean sheet in the last 17 games. Yeah, and
Wow.
if you compare, like ever since Douglas Luiz left Aston Villa and Yuri Tillemans has taken that role, right? Um, they've his long balls has always been a trouble for Aston Villa. You know, uh,
Mhm.
the long balls lead to a lot more defensive errors. If you look at their last uh, Premier League game against Aston Villa, sorry, against Crystal Palace, yeah, Tielemans, I think, lacked pace. Mateta was able to cover him very well. Yeah. So they are missing
Yeah.
Douglas Lewis at that place, and Tielemans has not been able to do that. Yeah. And if you look at in terms of striking, also, right, in the Premier League 24-25 season, the most chances missed is Ollie Watkins with 12. So Villa, I mean, have been shaky, but again, you really can't write them off. Yeah, they. I mean, with Unai, you never know how his tactics will come up. Yeah, in terms of Chelsea, I think the thing that we need to do is you need 60 minutes. Yeah, if you look at from compared to last season, this season, the thing that I noticed last season, we always used to score first and then we used to concede. Big thing, okay? But we're not able to hold on to that or not able to finish that game. So in the first 50, 60 minutes, get a 2-0 lead, put the game to bed, and then yes, with your substitution and everything, you can play. So I'm hoping for a win. Okay, it's not going to be an easy win, but I would just say like we would, realistically speaking, we'd get a 1-0 win against us.
Great. Amog, any more insights than what Krishnan said?
Nothing more than what Krishnan said, but as he said, Villa has shaky defense. So we also do have a shaky defense. So at the back. So with Robert Sanchez, you never know when he gives away the ball. So last week also it happened when Quesedo saved somehow. So if that is the case, so when we are leading 1-0 or 2-0, if the small error happens, and they'll get their confidence back. So with these small mistakes, so that's always there. So whichever match day we get into with Robert Sanchez, we even for unless we have 3-0, 4-0 lead, probably we will be in trouble. 2-0 lead in football is such a weird this one.
Yeah.
You'll never know. Once they score, the whole confidence, the whole team will be back on it. So
Concern that I've always noticed this season, how football has evolved over a period of time compared to like how it was in the early 2000s to now, is a goalkeeper's role. Okay, so back then a goalkeeper's role was just merely clearing the ball into the striker or to the central midfield, and then they take it forward. But now, off late, the last 2 3 seasons, the goalkeeper's evolved. A role has evolved. A lot of back passes to the goalkeeper. Yeah, the way you start your goal kick also, like if you see in the previous two Chelsea games also, like either it is Fofana, he passes it to Sanchez within the in the inside the 6 yard box, and then Sanchez tries to place it forward. By then you have a lot of pressing from the opposition. So as much as yes, these are tactics, but these definitely lead to a lot of errors. You can't afford to have that pressure inside the 6 yard box. So that's why I said tactics has evolved over a period of time in terms of managerial tactics also. Like the role of each player and pressing and everything has evolved. All that will also impact the result of every game, and leading to a player's error as well. Yeah, when was the last time Carlo Curicini do that? Like back passes that never existed, right? If you look at Chelsea this season, right? Like we take, like if we earn a corner, okay, the ball Cole Palmer plays into the box, okay. Lot of backtracking happens. Like the third or fourth pass, you see Sanchez having the ball. So there is not much of attacking intent, like in how you expect it to be. So this leads to a lot of errors, especially with Amok said our defense is pretty shaky. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
need a strong goalkeeper to play front, not with those back passes, because one small error inside the 6 yard box
Yeah.
is catastrophic.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what we were discussing in the last pod as well, which is quite interesting to see Robert Sanchez have the highest save percentage in the Premier League, but all of the Chelsea fans are voicing concerns over his other aspects of his game, being very error prone and not being able to command the box, not being able to play out from the back easily. So, this is a concern that you guys will have to find a fix. Let's quickly shift to Aston Villa, winless in seven, although Unai Emery, you would say, probably had one of the really good starts to the season, both in the Premier League and in the Champions League. We spoke about missing chances. Krishnan brought that up. Ollie Watkins has missed so much chances, and there's John Duran who's been sitting on that bench and keeping it warm. And whenever he's been asked to whenever he's been brought on, he's had this big impact. Is this giving Unai a big headache? Will we see Duran start over Watkins in the Premier League because he has got it in him and he's not done? Rahul, do you want to take this from what you've seen on John Duran?
Yeah, so I think that's a very interesting conundrum to have as a manager. You have Ollie Watkins, who in it, like by himself, he's an amazing out and out striker, and he has almost all the big teams in the league vying for his signature. And I'm sure even if you have a settled forward line, you would want to get Ollie Watkins in there. Yeah, and he's having somewhat of a quiet season this time, and someone, John Duran, is not making it any easy for him by coming onto the pitch and scoring bangers after bangers week after week. So yeah, it's definitely a good headache to have, but at the same time, it can also be a bad headache to have because a lot of these mentality of the players. So you don't want your starting striker to feel that he's not the starting striker anymore. At the same time, you don't want the striker sitting on the bench to feel that okay, you are not someone who's supposed to sit on the bench. So it's a very tricky situation to be in. But I think. And probably this goes back to when John Duran, back to his younger days, right? I think there is some issues with his mentality. There have been instances where he's lashed out at the manager for sitting on the bench. So it's really interesting to see how this dynamic plays out. But I think for Unai Emery, I think he's going to stick with Watkins for now. I still feel that he's still the out and out striker that Villa need to have up front. But yeah, let's see how this goes. I still expect to see Watkins start and play week after week. It's still going to be some time before we see Duran take up that responsibility.
It's a long season ahead actually for Aston Villa, right? Because they are playing in the Champions League
Yeah.
as well. They have Premier League, and the FA Cup starts in a few weeks from now. So, I mean, I agree with what that Watkins will start. He's already had 6 goals for this season already, and he's more experienced than John Duran. Yeah, as much as John Duran may come and score in bangers, but I think Watkins is the man that Unai Emery has always relied on, and his Tielemans has managed to give him 4 assists as well this season. So I think they'll be looking for more from that partnership as well, to see what they can do. But it's not going to be an easy game at all. As I said, it's going to be a very, very closely contested one. Even though you can just put Villa's form behind, it's going to be like a very closely contested one. I think it'll all come down which manager has better tactics. Yeah, I think it'll all come down to that. It's not Aston Villa versus Chelsea. It's more of Emery versus Murray.
Brilliantly put. A quick round of predictions. Krishnan, will start
I'm
with
going.
you.
I'm going for a
Chelsea
1-0
at home
victory
to
for
Villa.
Chelsea.
Nice. 1-0. Amog has always told me that Chelsea will never keep a clean sheet, so I'm expecting him to keep a score line on the same lines. I'm guessing 2-1 from Amog then.
Exactly. Or 3-1. I'll go with 2-1 or 3-1. Last time I predicted right, correct.
Yes, absolutely. You were spot on,
And
actually.
Arsenal, this one also I predicted 3-0.
I think you were, yeah, I think you were spot on the Arsenal one. The only thing that we all went haywire, we went wrong haywire was the City game versus Spurs. The best, I think someone predicted was a 2-all draw. But anyways, we'll come back to that. Rahul, your predictions for that?
Yeah, I'll also go for a 2-1. I think Chelsea will scrape it out. Yeah, I think they'll win.
Brilliant and all out Chelsea victory then, but we all, I think, can agree that this will not be a straightforward game and going to be an intriguing watch. Two managers who are known for their tactics, as Christian rightly put. It's going to be a very fascinating game. So stay tuned to that and we'll discuss that in our next podcast. The next game, the feature game that we'd like to discuss is West Ham versus Arsenal. That is Arsenal away to West Ham. Arsenal, since Martin Odegaard, have rediscovered themselves. They've beaten Forest convincingly 3-0, and then they went to Sporting yesterday and demolished them in the Champions League 5-1. At 3-0, Gabriel hit the Gyökeres celebration, so that was how convincing it was. And now, I think in in the last pod as well, we discussed now is the time for Arsenal to gain some steam because they have an easy run of fixtures. After West Ham, they play United away, they play Fulham away, and they play Everton at home and Palace away. So a couple of easy fixtures, although the United away classifying it as easy, but it can be quite interesting that game. So where do you think Arsenal are at this season? They had a tricky start to the season. Now they've got Odegaard back. I think Rice also started yesterday against Sporting, so they have Rice, Odegaard, and Saka back. So do you think Arsenal are on track to close the gap between Liverpool? And do you think this season, if anybody is giving Liverpool a run for their money or finishing on second, is it going to be Arsenal? Christian, do you want
Yeah,
to
so I
start with that?
think the key. I think the key for Arsenal. last game also has been the return of Martin Odegaard. I think it is Odegaard, Saka, and Declan Rice, the three of them that control the midfield for Arsenal, and they literally demolished Sporting yesterday with that 5-1 performance, and they will be looking to take that confidence into the West Ham game. And even though West Ham come into this game after beating Newcastle 2-0, that was really surprising. That got everyone. And West Ham haven't been very consistent this season. They haven't been consistent at all. So I mean, unless they spring a surprise, but which I highly doubt that to happen, it'll be a very convincing win for Arsenal. And it's not just like maybe it's not just 3 points at the back for them, because it does symbolize that yes, that we are in that we can challenge Liverpool too, because the only two teams that I see that challenging Liverpool currently is Arsenal and Chelsea. Because we'll come to the Man City a bit later when we discuss, but uh, if you really need someone to challenge Liverpool at the moment, I think only Arsenal and Chelsea can do it, because only two teams that have a full strength squad as of now. Yeah. So it's going to be a very convincing win for Arsenal, and I think it will bring a lot of confidence to Mikel Arteta as well for the run of fixtures that you just mentioned, and they would be looking to seal that knockout spot in the Champions League as well.
Yeah, they are looking good. But Amog, for you, the impact of Odegaard, let's talk a bit about that, because before the return of Odegaard, they were struggling to score goals and they only looked a goal threat from corners. It was either Saliba or Gabriel, and they had some string of losses where Mikel Arteta was being compared to Jose Mourinho, wherein they're just trying to stop having the attacking fluidity that Mikel Arteta had and try to score goals of set pieces, especially corners and stuff like that. Is this, we always talk about this one man? Football is a team game, 11 players on the field, the manager and the squad, but then one player being able to pull strings and change the way a team can play. This is something fascinating, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, so the term which you said, the main man. So the midfielder probably is the who dictates the whole game. So come it to Chelsea, it's Palmer and Enzo. So the same goes with Odegaard. So last season he had a brilliant season. Then he got injured. When he got injured, we all know the fixtures. So the first two months when the Premier League started, it was all uh, not that much to Arsenal. So now with him, so somehow if we need to stop Arsenal being a threat to Liverpool and Chelsea is to stop Odegaard.
And like Saka somewhere, who's been really monumental. He's already got 8 goals, 8 assists this season. He's been really the driving force, and he's a real threat to. He's actually a menace to the defenders. And but it won't be a happy return to his former club. I would say for
Yeah.
Fabianski, because they have Havertz, Odegaard, Martinelli, and Saka. All are threatening. Yeah. And it's like they're actually like like the last few, I think the last season, if you observe the way Arsenal played, their passes were so free, like it was like literally flowing like water. You will see them back to how they were last season.
Brilliant. The only point of contention for me with Arsenal when I look at them in the title race picture is, do they miss that gun striker? Because they're always trying to get goals of the wingers, and Gabriel has not been that type of gun striker. And Havertz, we all know he is not an out and out striker. So, Rahul, at some point of the season, or do you think in January Arsenal will go for a striker just to get the striker department reinforced, or do you think this is a team that, because Arteta's Pep's student, that they can go and try to challenge for the title without a number 9?
Yeah, so see, that's where Arteta and Pep differentiate. I think Pep can pull it off without a striker. Arteta is trying to, but it's not happening. And honestly, I think that's the one missing piece in their puzzle. They need a proper number 9. And we spoke about Ollie Watkins. They can do with an Ollie Watkins right now. I in fact read somewhere that they are trying to put in a bid for Alexander Isak of Newcastle. So I honestly, yeah, that is the missing piece in their puzzle at this point in time. And just to add to the fact of Odegaard's return and his sort of impact that he's had, I'm not sure what his first game back from injury was, but I remember seeing that game and I was just taken aback because it didn't seem like someone who was out for an extended period of time and someone who would come back to just play after a long time. He just seamlessly just slotted into his position, and I think what differentiates him from the rest of the people at folks at Arsenal is he is a leader on and off the pitch as well. Uh, I can see him initiate most of Arsenal's presses this season, and I also see that's how they're getting most of their goals based off of mistakes from the defense. Yeah, to help him and to help Arsenal, I think Arsenal need to really invest in a number nine and a striker. Maybe if not in Jan, but that should definitely be one of their targets in the summer.
Brilliant. Coming on to West Ham, as Krishnan mentioned, big surprise win over Newcastle. Nobody expected that. So much so that in the pre-match, Theo Walcott was on Sky and he said he would give West Ham no chance against Newcastle, and they all had a good laugh. So that is the beauty of the Premier League. Anything can happen on any day. But do you guys, any of you three, feel there will be an upset? For Arsenal, or is it Arsenal throughout? Quick round of
A
predictions,
convincing win
Krishnan,
for Aston. I would say a 3-0 victory.
Amok?
West Ham are playing home, right?
Yes.
Okay, probably then 1-0 win for Arsenal.
Okay.
Something they will scrape off late.
Hmm. And
With
Rahul?
Kudus is not there. That's a big
Ah,
concern.
okay. Yeah,
Oh,
I guess they're playing Bowen, Suchek,
Somerville they will play,
Somerville. Yeah, it's a good one.
how long is Kudus out for?
I
Yeah,
guess.
okay.
Oh, yes, that card. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a bad one.
yeah. I think I'll go for. I'll also go for a 2-0 or a 3-0 win for Arsenal. I think West Ham they might have a chance, but I don't see it happening with everyone back and Arsenal seemingly to be all guns blazing, unintended.
Okay.
Before
Unanimous
we wind up,
prediction from
like
the boys.
Odegaard
The
reminds me of the Thomas Rosicky back in the day, and with the way he bossed the midfield, and Odegaard is actually beginning to remind me of that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Unanimous prediction from the guys. They're all saying that the Gunners will blow off the bubbles. So let's see if that is going to be the case. On the weekend, the final feature match that we are talking on the pod is Man United versus Everton. Mouth-watering clash, I have to say, between 12th placed United and 14th placed Everton. It's just, yeah, I had to put that in there. But Rahul, what did we find out from Ruben Amorim in his first match against Ipswich? Because I'm asking this because he said United fans will see an idea. So there's two ways. Like you can talk about ideas and structure, but then unless the players project it on the field, you don't see anything. But were you able to see some signs of improvement there?
Yes, I it's both yes and no. I would say yes because the players for after a long time it seemed like they did not have the positional freedom that some of them did under Ten Hag. Because otherwise you would see Rashford and Garnacho keep swapping wings, which I don't know for what reason they do that. It's just maybe one of them feels I can't take the wing back on, so I want to switch wings with you. But I definitely saw that. I saw a lot of positional awareness by our players, which we have been so devoid of tactical football that something as basic as that was encouraging to me. And another thing that was pretty obvious out after that game was the players are not good enough. It's almost as if Ruben Amorim put out that starting lineup to show the fans that okay, this is what I'm having to deal with. And most of the people who started against Ipswich, I don't think they will be featured heavily under Ruben Amorim going ahead in the future. It was just his way of saying that okay, this is what I am having to deal with. There are some players who will come back into the system and it will get better. So I think all in all, it was I was heavily impressed with Ruben Amorim on the day with his team that he put out and even the substitutions that again we as United fans we are not used to seeing subs. The only subs we're used to seeing is a Is Maguire on for Delict, or Maguire on for Varane, or a useless 90th minute sub for of a striker going off for another? But to see someone actually being proactive, making subs in the 55th minute, then making changes to the system. So I think that's the kind of proactive management that we've missed for a long time. And I'm in fact going to be honest and bold and say that one of the biggest aspects of Ruben Amorim's management that United will probably make the most of is the fact that he's a man manager, and we have not had one since Alex Ferguson. Almost each and every one of the managers we've had since then were all trying to implement their tactical nuances here and there, but they were not able to handle big egos in the dressing room, and they were not able to man manage properly. I was able to see all of these points against Ipswich, and I'm confident. I actually liked what I saw.
Nice to hear a confident United fan. Just a slight tweak to whatever you said, Rahul. You said that there was not a man manager since Alex Ferguson. I think Ruben Amorim is the perfect mixture between, or the perfect blend between man manager and also a tactician,
Yeah,
something which we have lacked, because I feel Ole was purely a man manager and he did not have any tactical nose in order to back him, and it was all McKenna and Carrick. So I would say he's the perfect blend, but how big of a task he has is quite concerning for me, because in the press conference for the Bodo Glimt, he said, for example, Rashford in that game, yes, he had a good start to the game. He scored
yeah,
the goal right off the blocks, but after that, he had only like 13 or 14
Yes.
touches in the
yeah.
entire game, which is what we've seen come to expect of Rashford. So if he said if Rashford has to improve, then he himself has to put his hand up and say he has to believe in himself, and he has to be the first one to say I have to improve. And this is what has happened, right? Most of these players have groveled in mediocrity for a very long time, and in order to get these players to play a level up and do normal things, right? Like wingers put a cross in. Okay, defenders, when you lost the ball, go behind, run behind. Some of these very normal things a championship football team will do is not being done by United. And so, in order to instill all of these normal things into this football club will be a major challenge, and that is why I would say he's got a very very big challenge in front of him. One quick question to you: were you happy? So one of the reasons why he played with the squad was because he that was the squad that trained with him during the
Yeah.
international break, so that is why exactly why he put in that squad. But do you think Ahmad will be a permanent feature in that right wing back role, or it's going to change, because you said there will be a lot of changes and this will not be the final personnel who will play that 3-4-3 system?
Yeah, so I think Ruben Amorim sees him as a right wing back, and I honestly don't have a lot of issues with it. The only thing is we will be restricting his technical output. He's someone who's really good in tight spaces, and I could see him as someone playing as a second number 10 alongside Bruno in Ruben Amorim's system. But if there is a reason why he's played him there, and I think this is also goes back to his sporting days where he plays the opposite-footed wingers as each of the wing backs. So you'll have a left footer as a right wing back, and vice versa. So while I personally feel Ahmad can do a much better job as a second number 10, but I feel he's left that space open for Mason Mount, and that's another player that I really want to see more of, because it's honestly been. I feel like we've been scammed for there, but I still feel that he can have his redemption arc under Ruben Amorim. But yeah, let's see what he's planned for Mason Mount.
Mason Mount has been cursed by Amog number one for sure. Before he's come to Man United, he has been cursed by the Chelsea fans. But Krishnan, what did I don't know if you had a chance
I
to
did, I did,
catch
I
the
did, yeah.
game, you guys?
I did.
Let me know. You did? Okay, perfect.
So I
Any
think
thoughts on that?
I think the first 10-15 minutes United started off really well, showed a lot of attacking intent, and that's when they were able to get that goal in the first few minutes itself. But again, if you see, it was again the same story in the second half: lack of defending, errors, player positioning was extremely poor. Two things I would say: one, Ruben Amorim would need a lot of time to get his tactics across, because United have been playing without tactics for the last 4 seasons at least. Yeah, I'll be very honest with you. Like, these are facts. The last person who ever probably pushed tactics into that squad was Ralph Rangnick for a few months. Yeah, and probably Jose Mourinho before that. And I don't think after Ole and with Ten Hag, there was no tactics, right? There was just like a bunch of headless chickens just running around with no proper positioning. And the January transfer window is going to be extremely crucial for United. He would demand the players that he would want to fit into that system. And Mason Mount is going to play a very important role, not just with Ruben Amorim, with also Thomas Tuchel taking in charge of the England manager. That is going to be that it's going to be very pivotal for Mason Mount, especially, I would say. That would be like a little game changer or like a make or break for him. So it is going to be very interesting with Ruben coming into the the United foray, and I expect to see a lot of more tactics, from him, and it'll be really interesting to see how these existing players cope up, though. But in January, United are going to have a very busy transfer window.
It's quite interesting because David Ornstein came out this week and said United are flying very close to the PSR rules, and it would be very difficult for them to make big moves in the January transfer window. And at best, it will basically be the free ones that they might get, but they would have to basically fund get existing players out in order to fund for their January window. But yes, this is against an Everton team who are winless in their last four Premier League clashes, and they have failed to score in the last three Premier League matches. So they started the season. We all know how poor it was. We had this session with Sudanwa. Then they had a momentary upward tick, and then they are back to their lows now. How difficult it is for Sean Dyche, because there's not a lot of goals in this team, and even in the first few games where they were losing, you could see Dwight McNeil and DCL get some goals between them, and but then all that has dried up now. So, where do you think Sean Dyche will can stay on as manager, or do you think Everton need a big reset in order to get them scoring goals? Rahul, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So I honestly feel Sean Dyche's this romanticism with the Premier League, it is bound to end someday. And I still feel he'll somehow pull off this season, but it's not definitely not sustainable in the long run. And there have also been a lot of takeover talks. I'm not sure. I think they have gone ahead with the takeover. I'm not sure. I
Yeah,
could be wrong.
they
But
have.
Everton are in a dire need of it's like what Ralph Ragnick said when he was at United. It needs an open heart surgery. And Everton need that right now, and it has to start with the manager. They can't be playing 19th century football in 21st century. You can't always have a target man up front to bail you out. And DCL did that for quite a long time, but even he's fading into
Yeah.
obscurity at this point in time. So it's very difficult for them.
Absolutely. Okay, quick round of predictions for that game. A United team that doesn't score more than one goal against an Everton team that haven't scored in their last three. So,
I'll start with a 1-0 win for
predictions,
United.
guys. Perfect. Amog.
Probably 2-0 win for United. And
Wow.
one more thing, I'll know when Sean Dyche will get sacked. So it will be 27 December.
Wow. Okay. That is a bold statement. So
No,
let's,
because I'll tell you
I'm
why.
sure.
So they play United away next and Liverpool, and after that they'll play Arsenal away, and they'll play Chelsea, and they'll play
God
Man
bless
City
them.
away.
Wow.
All this in December.
My God, what is that brutal run of fixtures? They might as well sack him
No,
before.
but Everton have been
That is
actually
horrible.
poor in front of goal. They just scored what 10 goals is all season. That's like 19th out of 20, and they stand 20th when it comes to the total passes complete as a team as well. Midfield needs a lot of work, so it's gonna be like I wouldn't be surprised if they get relegated this season, man.
I really hope not. They're
Big
such a
team, yes,
big
but yeah, the
team,
way
and
they've
they're
been
the only team.
playing, it's I don't know, like you need a miracle. I think you need new ownership. You need someone to bring in radical changes with the way they play. Last time Everton ever performed well was when David Moyes was manager. Yeah, they used to play in the
Yeah,
UEFA Cup, or yeah, back then the UEFA Europa League of back then. They used the best ever finish was like sixth or
yeah.
eighth back then. Yeah, they've not been ever good ever since. So yeah.
Fun fact: they've also, I think, one of the founding members of the Premier League who
Yeah.
did has yet to be relegated. They've never been relegated in their history. So yeah, it would be quite heartbreaking if they did. I really hope not. And this takeover comes to their rescue. Rahul, your prediction is still left.
I'm going to go for 3-1 United. We are going to concede a goal. I don't see us keeping a clean sheet. Even though it's against Everton, I am not confident. So it's 3-1 for me. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. That is it for all of the three feature matches that we wanted to speak on the pod. Any other matches you guys are looking forward to this weekend, just as a Premier League fan, apart from obviously the Liverpool City game, which we will come to later? Any other game that could be interesting for the viewers to see? So it's going to be Leicester away at Brentford. Ruud is going to be
First game.
taking charge of Leicester, so we wish him well.
So
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
just a point. So
Yeah.
Ruud is not yet appointed, but he'll be
Oh, okay.
appointed. Probably Dawson will be in charge for Leicester.
Fair enough. Okay, so Dawson is going to be in charge. Great. But Rude, do you think is a good team for him to work with? Leicester? It has to get better than Steve Cooper. So,
So actually,
Yeah, I
the two matches which United played, I think you guys won 5-0 against Leicester. Am I right?
yeah, that was in the Cup
Yeah.
Chelsea
and one in
against
the
Chelsea,
Premier
that
League.
was, yeah.
So these two matches were bold enough for Leicester to decide that okay, he might be the one for Premier League. I think he's got lucky with Tenai getting sacked with the 2-3 matches which he got at United to showcase that okay, I can manage a Premier League club. It's a win kind of thing probably for Leicester and him. So it's up to Leicester now. Probably a new with new manager bounce, they might go for a good run. But
Yeah,
for long, I think they need to fix their defense. Leicester with Fayez and the guy who are very bad in the back. So yeah.
yeah. I don't know why they have Woodfast still. I don't rate him much, but he's always, whenever I've seen a highlight reel of him, he's always making mistakes. But yeah, I think he was a important player for them coming back to the Premier League. But anyways, Rahul, you wanted to make a point?
no, I just say that I think based off of what we saw as manager, I would say it's not very different to what Ten Hag does. I think the system that he implemented was a bit of his own, but there were ideas and principles that he borrowed from Ten Hag's. I don't even know if you can call that a system, but yeah, I honestly don't think he'll do well. I think he's going to definitely struggle initially, uh, but Leicester have to give him time. And that's the thing. He's at a club where I don't think they can afford to give him as much time because they want results. I think they need immediate results if they really
Yeah,
want to stay up in the Premier League. So let's see how it goes. I'm not as confident, but let's see. And, but I, yeah, I hope he does well because he's a United legend, right? So
yeah.
let's see.
Absolutely, but just as Amok said, I think it's a bold move for Leicester as well. They could have gotten someone who is vastly experienced, but they've shown someone who's younger. They've gone the Ipswich route, Southampton route, someone who's younger, who can put a shoulder around the players and then say, "This is the way I want each." And probably goals. That is something Nistelrooy is known for. Nistelrooy and Vardy. That's going to be something
Interesting.
very interesting. Very interesting. Hopefully, a long line of strikers who are sitting on that bench can have a lot to learn from them. Yeah, I think that is that for the three feature games and also Leicester. Before we quickly end the podcast, FPL moves for the upcoming game week. So, Krishnan, do you want to tell the viewers what changes you're making with this
I
game week?
think it's not going to be like much of radical changes because I am going to stick to a good Spurs squad because Spurs are playing against Fulham
Hmm.
and they're having a very good
Okay.
run of form. So I'll probably have
Hmm.
Pedro Porro, who's been performing really well. Yeah, I'll have Pedro Porro in my team, and
Nice.
Dean Henderson has given very good returns for a goalkeeper. Yeah, he's always been
Nice.
compared to the other goalkeepers in the Premier League. Henderson and Fabianski have had very good returns, so I'll stick to Henderson. I think in terms of Haaland's form has dipped. We all know that. So I think I would probably get Haaland out and bring Salah in. and along with Raul Jimenez and Nicholas Jackson, who I hope to continue his goal scoring run against Aston Villa as well. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. That sounds good. For the viewers as well, Dean Henderson is a totally offbeat move. If you're looking to make that move, then yeah, some insights into that as well from Krishnan. Rahul, your move for the week and how your team is shaping up.
I'm pretty happy with my team. I had Holland, I think 2 game weeks. I got rid of him, I think 2 game weeks back, and that's when I got Salah in, and I've been really happy. I've captained him for the past 2 game weeks, and he's given me a lot of points. Wanted him to score a hat trick last week, but didn't happen. I think, as Krishnan said, I'm looking to get more Spurs players in. I have Brennan Johnson at this point in time, but I'm looking to get in Kulusevski. That's probably one of the
Performance.
best performances I've seen by a player against a Pep Guardiola Man City side in a long time. Definitely looking to get him in as well. I'm
For
thinking of, sorry,
Kulusevski, for who do you?
I'm removing Mbuemo. Uh, he's a good option. He's low. I think he's not valued as high, but he does give you your points here and there. But I have to get rid of someone. Otherwise, my midfield is stacked. I have Johnson, I have Cole Palmer, and I have Mo Salah. So I have to get rid of Mbuemo for that. In defense, I have a lot of City players that I have to get rid of. There's Rico Lewis. I got him in because he's as a defender on FPL, but he plays as midfielder. Thinking of good points and returns from him. But I am going to remove Akanji and I'm going to get in Skerkes from Bournemouth. I really like him, and I think fixtures coming up are good. They play Wolves, Tottenham, and Ipswich. So I think for the next 3 game weeks, I can have Skerkes in defense. So those are going to be my moves.
Brilliant. Another left field move. People are not thinking about Milos making transfers on Milos Kerkez and Dejan Kulusevski. So, again, some interesting insights from Rahul. I'm going straight forward. I've had Haaland in, and I'm planning to remove him. I've already removed him for Cunha, who's been, again, having a purple patch. I think Wolves have finally found some form. I can say, at least the thing is with FPL, when I get in the players, then they stop scoring forever. So I've gotten Cunha and I've replaced Brennan Johnson because I had to remove someone, and I removed Brennan Johnson for Saka. So my midfield at the moment is Mbeumo, Saka, Salah, and Garnacho, just to have that Man United flavor. But in terms of FPL, I still have money to go Cole Palmer there. That would be something for next week. But this week it is basically Cunha for Haaland and Saka for Brennan Johnson. So those are the moves. Again, people watching, please let us know what your moves this FPL are. If you have any advice for each of us, please let us know in your comments. And that is all we have for this episode. Thank you so much, Rahul and Krishnan, for joining us on the pod. It has been absolutely lovely having you with us, and very grateful for sharing your thoughts and insights on the upcoming game week. I had fun. I'm sure the viewers had a lot of fun listening to all of your insights. So thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you for
Yeah.
having us.
Brilliant. As always, please do like, share, and subscribe to our content on Corner Football Pod. We know it is not a big milestone, but we finally hit 100 plus subscribers on our YouTube channel, and it is all because of your love and support. So keep it coming, guys. And we will be coming back soon with another episode. So until then, take care, be safe, and be aware of any corners taken quickly. Thank
Bye
you all.
bye.
See you. Bye.